What's up everyone, and welcome back to Top 5 Central. Today we're looking at the top 5 most famous magic tricks that got exposed. Now real quick before we begin, even though we're going to be exposing how famous magic tricks work, I want you to comment whether you think magic is real or not. Personally, I don't believe in magic, but maybe you do, so let me know down below. Also, let's see if we can smash 5,000 likes on this video, and maybe I'll pull a crazy magic trick and make a crate of bananas appear at your doorstep. But with that said, let's get right into it. Number 5. Walking on water. Walking on water is literally the oldest trick in the book. I mean, it's even in the Bible. So it's not surprising that the trick is just as popular now as it was centuries ago. With that said, the guy in the video obviously isn't Jesus, and he probably doesn't have God helping him walk across a swimming pool, so how is he doing it? Like, you probably don't need my help figuring out that it's fake, but the details are pretty difficult to spot unless you know what to look for. Basically, this guy planted plexiglass pathways underneath the water, and from the right angle, the camera can't pick them up. Like, they look completely invisible, but the magician can see enough to know where to put his feet, which makes it look like he's walking across the water with no help at all. Now you might be thinking that obviously the people around him would see the glass, and you're totally right, which is maybe the fakest part of the whole thing. The random people in the pool probably aren't random at all, they're actually just actors pretending that they can't see the glass. So yeah, kinda spoils the magic a bit, doesn't it?
The secret lies within this industrial-grade clear plexiglass. The plexi is mounted on clear plexiglass legs. When it is submerged in the water and photographed from the correct angles, the plexiglass is invisible and impossible to detect. But as the camera angle changes, the plexiglass becomes visible. The next secret is that the assistants and innocent spectators in the pool have been paid to act like they can't see the plexiglass platforms. The platforms in this illusion have been constructed in various size planks and are supported by the clear legs that reach the bottom of the pool.
Number 4. Catching a bullet. Now when I say this trick is no joke, I really mean it, because over 10 different magicians have died trying to get it right over the years. However, even though it's dangerous, it doesn't mean it's totally real, and knowing how it's done properly makes it a ton safer. Basically, the trick is that a magician loads a bullet into a gun, and then when the assistant shoots, they somehow catch the bullet in their mouth, either between the teeth or in a metal cup. Sounds completely impossible, right? Well, that's because it is, unless you know the secret of how to fake it. So usually the gun is fake in the first place, but sometimes magicians use real ones and just tell the assistant to shoot over their shoulder. The real bullet is actually in their mouth the whole time, like they just reveal it at the right moment to make it look extra convincing. But yeah, the real trick is how the magician gets the bullet out of the gun and into their mouth without anyone seeing, because that kind of sleight of hand isn't exactly easy to pull off. So to be honest, the trick is still super impressive even when you know what's going on, because it's still impossible to see how they're doing it.
Now the masked magician must pretend to be shot. Pretty good acting, but no Oscar. I know what you're thinking. How did the bullet get into his mouth? It's all sleight of hand. At the end of the plunger, there's a tiny magnet that goes down inside the barrel of the gun. There it is. Instead of packing the bullet down tight, it is actually pulling it out. See if you can catch the sleight of hand. There. Did you see it? When the magnet lifts the bullet out of the barrel, the magician palms it in his hand. Then, while you're distracted by the assistants, he quickly slips it into his mouth. The gun is fired. The magician spits out the bullet and X marks the spot.
Number 3. Spike through stomach. So the secret to this trick is actually pretty simple when you think about it, but it looks so real that even when you know it's fake, it's still kinda hard to watch. I mean, watching someone get stabbed by a bed of spikes is pretty gruesome, and most people will be too freaked out to even question how they did it. Anyway, the truth is that the spikes are nowhere near as deadly as they look. In fact, they're actually made of super squishy foam, so they don't hurt at all. Not just that, but the spike that apparently goes through the assistant is actually totally retractable. So as soon as she puts any pressure on it, it just disappears. The only question left is how they make it look like she's actually stabbed, and that's pretty simple too. A fake tip is magnetically attached to her costume at just the right second, while a spring in the spike she's attached to makes it look like she suddenly drops. Pretty clever, right? Honestly though, the most impressive thing about this whole stunt is the strength the woman has, because she manages to keep her shoulders and legs floating in the air the whole time the trick is happening. I mean, if you could do that, you could do the rest of the trick super easy.
Inspection, we can see that the pointy iron tips are actually made of foam rubber. They look lethal, but they're really quite harmless. Beneath her costume, the assistant is wearing a special harness that rests against the small of her back and has a socket that fits over the end of the phony spike. Without her fancy dress on, we see how easy it is to make the magic happen. When the men lift her, the magician guides the socket to the top of the spike. From this angle, we can see the moment the tip retracts and the harness attaches to the pipe. See? It's just strapped on. Her careful timing when placing the tip creates the illusion that the duplicate tip is actually being driven through her.
Number 2, the floating man. Okay, everyone has seen those street performers that look like they're floating effortlessly in the air for hours at a time, but almost no one knows how they actually do it. The truth is, whether the performer is dressed up as Yoda, the devil, or a floating monk, the trick is always exactly the same. To put it in basically the easiest way possible, the floating guy is always sat on a sturdy metal plate, which is attached to a bar that is hidden inside their costume. This bar usually leads to another plate which the performer could sit on, which is of course hidden by their costume again. So really, they're actually super comfortable and basically spend the whole day sitting down. But even when there are 2 people involved in the trick, the setup is just hidden in both their costumes and makes it look like one of them is taking the other one's weight completely. With that said, I still think this illusion is really impressive, because let's face it, not many people could sit that still for so long, especially when all you're allowed to do is silently stare at people walking past. Number 1, Sawed in Half trick. I don't think there's any magic trick in the world as iconic as sawing someone in half. In fact, I bet a lot of you have seen this trick in person and wondered how it goes. The truth is, there's actually a couple different ways to make it look as though someone is being cut into pieces, although the most popular techniques have changed over the years. With that said, the one revealed in this video is maybe the most classic, and it's also the most fun to try and spot next time you see the trick in real life. Basically, when the magician slides onto the torture table, they actually don't lay down, they just slide their legs into one of the holes in the table and puts it underneath. As for the legs we see, they actually belong to a body double, who is hidden in the other half of the table upside down. And yeah, when the saw comes down, all they have to do is play along, and then stay as still as possible when the table is pulled apart. It really isn't a super difficult trick, but because we're all paying more attention to the giant saw blade than the victim, it's pretty easy for people to fall for it.
When we see him get into the box and supposedly lie down, he's actually slipping his legs down into a secret compartment. The table legs are hollow and large enough to fit a person, or half of one. As you can see from the back, there is plenty of room to slide his legs inside the compartment with the help of some handy steps like the rungs of a ladder.
And there's our video on the top 5 most famous magic tricks that got exposed. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe so you see whenever I upload a video. Also, if you have your own top 5 or top 10 idea, feel free to search me a handy form in the description to submit it. With that said, thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.